Hey guys! Alright, we're still in chapter 2. This is the third day, or maybe the fourth day, of Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas trying to chase down the orcs who captured Merry and Pippin. Okay? So, here we go. Just going to move this over here so I can see a little better. Okay. As the day before, Legolas was the first afoot, if indeed he had ever slept. "Awake! Awake!" he cried. "It is a red dawn. Strange things await us by the eaves of the forest. Good or evil I do not know, but we are called. Awake!" The others sprang up, and almost at once they set off again. Slowly the downs drew near. It was still an hour before noon when they reached them, green slopes rising to the bare ridges that ran in a line straight towards the north. At their feet the ground was dry and the turf short, but a long strip of sunken land, some 10 miles wide, lay between them and the river, wandering deep in dim thickets of reed and rush. Just to the west of the southernmost slope there was a great ring where the turf had been torn and beaten by many trampling feet. From it the orc trail ran out again, turning north along the dry skirts of the hills. Aragorn halted and examined the tracks closely. "They rested here a while," he said, "but even the outward trail is already old. I fear that your heart spoke truly, Legolas. It is thrice 12 hours, I guess, since the orcs stood where we now stand. If they held to their pace, then at sundown yesterday they would reach the borders of Fanghorn Forest." "I can see nothing away north or west but grass dwindling into mist," said Gimli. "Could we see the forest if we climbed the hills?" "It is still far away," said Aragorn. "If I remember rightly, these downs run 8 leagues or more to the north, and in the northwest, to the issuing of the Entwash, there lies still a wide land, another 15 leagues it may be." "Well, let us go on," said Gimli. "My legs must forget the miles. They would be more willing if my heart were less heavy." The sun was sinking when at last they drew near to the end of the line of downs. Remember, the downs are small hills. For many hours they had marched without rest. They were going slowly now, and Gimli's back was bent. Stone hard are the dwarves in labor or journey, but this endless chase began to tell on him, as all hope failed in his heart. Aragorn walked behind him, grim and silent, stooping now and again to scan some print or mark upon the ground. Only Legolas still stepped as lightly as ever, his feet hardly seeming to press the grass, leaving no prints as he passed. But in the way-bread of the elves he found all the sustenance that he needed, and he could sleep, if sleep could be called by men, resting his mind in the strange paths of elvish streams, even as he walked open-eyed in the light of this world. "Let us go up to this green hill," he said. Wearily they followed him, climbing the long slope until they came out upon the top. It was a round hill, smooth and bare, standing by itself, the most northerly of the downs. The sun sank, and the shadows of the evening fell like a curtain. They were alone in a gray, formless world without mark or measure. Only far away northwest there was a deeper darkness against the dying light, the mountains of mist and the forest at their feet. "Nothing we can see to guide us here," said Gimli. "Well, now we must halt again and wear the night away. It is growing cold." "The wind is north from the snows," said Aragorn. "And ere morning it will be in the east," said Legolas. "But rest if you must. Yet do not cast all hope away. Tomorrow is unknown. Read. Oft is found at the rising of the sun." "3 suns already have risen on our chase, and brought no counsel," said Gimli. The night grew ever colder. Aragorn and Gimli slept fitfully, and whenever they awoke they saw Legolas standing beside them, or walking to and fro, singing softly to himself in his own tongue. And as he sang, the white stars opened in the hard black vault above. So the night passed. Together they watched the dawn grow slowly in the sky, now bare and cloudless, until at last the sunrise came. It was pale and clear. The wind was in the east, and all the mists had rolled away. Wide lands lay bleak about them in the bitter light. Ahead and eastward they saw the windy uplands of the wold of Rohan that they had already glimpsed many days ago from the great river. Northwestward stalked the dark forest of Fangorn. Still 10 leagues away stood its shadowy eaves, as further slopes faded into the distant blue. Beyond there glimmered far away, as if floating on a grey cloud, the white head of tall Methadras, the last peak of the misty mountains. Out of the forest the Entwash flowed to meet them, its stream now swift and narrow, its banks deep cloven. The Orc trail turned from the downs toward it. Following with his keen eyes the trail to the river, then the river back toward the forest, Aragorn saw a shadow in the distant green, a dark, swift-moving blur. He cast himself upon the ground and listened again intently, but Legolas stood beside him, shading his bright, elven eyes with his long, slender hand. And he saw not a shadow, nor a blur, but the small figures of horsemen, many horsemen, and the glint of morning on the tips of their spears was like the twinkle of minute stars beyond the edge of mortal sight. Far behind them a dark smoke rose in thin, curling threads. There was a silence in the empty fields, and Gimli could hear the air moving in the grass. "Riders!" cried Aragorn, springing to his feet. "Many riders on swift steeds are coming toward us." "Yes," said Legolas. "There are 105. Yellow is their hair, and bright are their spears. Their leader is very tall." Aragorn smiled. "Keen are the eyes of the elves," he said. "Nay, the riders are little more than 5 leagues distant," said Legolas. 5 leagues or one," said Gimli. "We cannot escape them in this bare land. Shall we wait for them here or go on our way?" "We will wait," said Aragorn. "I am weary, and our hunt has failed, or at least others are before us. For these horsemen are riding back down the Orc trail. We may get news from them." "Or spears," said Gimli. "There are 3 empty saddles, but I see no hobbits," said Legolas. "I did not say that we should hear good news," said Aragorn, "but good or evil, we will wait it here." The 3 companions now left the hilltop, where they might be an easy mark against the pale sky, and they walked slowly down the northward slope. A little above the hill's foot they halted, and wrapping their cloaks about them, they sat huddled together upon the faded grass. The time passed slowly and heavily. The wind was thin and searching. Gimli was uneasy. "What do you know of these horsemen, Aragorn?" he said. "Do we sit here waiting for sudden death?" "I have been among them," answered Aragorn. "They are proud and willful, but they are true-hearted, generous in thought and deed, bold but not cruel, wise but unlearned, writing no books but singing many songs, after the manner of the children of men before the dark years. But I do not know what has happened here of late, nor in what mind the Rohirrim may now be between traitor Sauron and the threat of Sauron. They have long been friends of the people of Gondor, though they are not akin to them. It was in forgotten years long ago that Eorl the Young brought them out of the north, and their kinship is rather with the Bardings of Dale, and with the Bjornings of the wood, among whom may still be seen many men tall and fair, as are the riders of Rohan. At least, they will not love the orcs." "But Gandalf spoke of a rumour that they paid tribute to Mordor," said Gimli. "I believe it no more than Boromir did," answered Aragorn. You will soon learn the truth," said Legolas. "Already they approach." At length even Gimli could hear the distant beat of galloping hooves. The horsemen, following the trail, had turned from the river and were drawing near the downs. They were riding like the wind. Now the cries of clear, strong voices came ringing over the fields. Suddenly they swept up with a noise like thunder, and the foremost horseman swerved, passing by the foot of the hill and leading the host back southward along the western skirts of the downs. After him they rode a long line of mail-clad men, swift, shining, fell, and fair to look upon. Their horses were of great stature, strong and clean-limbed. Their grey coats glistened, their long tails floated in the wind. Their manes were braided on their proud necks. The men that rode them matched them well, tall and long-limbed, their hair, flaxen pale, flaxen means blonde, flowed under the light helms, and streamed in long braids behind them. Their faces were stern and keen. In their hands were tall spears of ash, painted shields were slung at their backs, long swords were at their belts, their burnished skirts of mail hung down upon their knees. In pairs they galloped by, and though every now and then one rose in his stirrups and gazed ahead and to either side, they appeared not to perceive the three strangers, sitting silently and watching them. The host had almost passed, when suddenly Aragorn stood up and called in a loud voice, "What news from the north, riders of Rohan?" With astonishing speed and skill they checked their steeds, wheeled, and came charging round. Soon the three companions found themselves in a ring of horsemen, moving in a running circle, up the hill slope, behind them and down, round and round them, and drawing ever inwards. Aragorn stood silent, and the other two sat without moving, wondering what way things would turn. Without a word or cry, suddenly the riders halted. A thicket of spears were pointed toward the strangers, and some of the horsemen had bows in hand, and their arrows were already fitted to the string. Then one rode forward, a tall man, taller than all the rest. From his helm, as a crest, a white horsetail flowed. He advanced until the point of his spear was within a foot of Aragorn's breast. Aragorn did not stir.
"Who are you, and what are you doing in this land?" said the rider, using the common speech of the West, in manner and tone like the speech of Boromir, man of Gondor. "I am called Strider," answered Aragorn. "I come out of the north. I am hunting orcs." The rider leaped from his horse. Giving his spear to another who rode up and dismounted at his side, he drew his sword and stood face to face with Aragorn, surveying him keenly and not without wonder. At length he spoke again. "At first I thought that you yourselves were orcs," he said, "but now I see it is not so. Indeed, you know little of orcs, if you go hunting them in this fashion. They were swift and well armed, and they were many. You would have changed from hunters to prey, if ever you had overtaken them. But there is something strange about you, Strider." He bent his clear bright eyes again upon the ranger. "That is no name for a man that you give, and strange too is your raiment. Have you sprung out of the grass? How did you escape our sight? Are you elvish folk?" "No," said Aragorn. "One only of us is an elf, Legolas from the woodland realm in distant Mirkwood. But we have passed through Lothlorien, and the gifts and favour of the lady go with us." The rider looked at them with renewed wonder, but his eyes hardened. "Then there is a lady in the Golden Wood, as old tales tell," he said. "Few escape her nets, they say. These are strange days. But if you have her favour, then you are also net weavers and sorcerers, maybe." He turned a cold glance suddenly upon Legolas and Gimli. "Why do you not speak, silent ones?" he demanded. Gimli rose and planted his feet firmly apart. His hand gripped the handle of his axe, and his dark eyes flashed. "Give me your name, horsemaster, and I will give you mine, and more besides," he said. "As for that," said the rider, staring down at the dwarf, "the stranger should declare himself first. Yet I am named Eomer, son of Eomund, and am called the third marshal of the Riddermark." "Then Eomer, son of Eomund, third marshal of the Riddermark, let Gimli the dwarf, Gloin's son, warn you against foolish words. You speak evil of that which is beyond fear, the reach of your thought. Only little wit can excuse you." Eomer's blazed, and the men of Rohan, Eomer's eyes blazed, and the men of Rohan murmured angrily and closed in, advancing their spears. "I would cut off your head, beard and all, Master Dwarf, if it stood but a little higher from the ground," said Eomer. "He stands not alone," said Legolas, bending his bow and fitting an arrow, with hands that moved quicker than sight. "You would die before your stroke fell." Eomer raised his sword, and things might have gone ill, but Aragorn sprang between them and raised his hand. "Your pardon, Eomer," he cried. "When you know more, you will understand why you have angered my companions. We intend no evil to Rohan, nor to any of its folk, neither to man nor to horse. Will you not hear our tale before you strike?" "I will," said Eomer, lowering his blade. "But wanderers in the Riddermark would be wise to be less haughty in these days of doubt. First tell me your right name." "First tell me who you serve," said Aragorn. "Are you friend or foe of Sauron, the Dark Lord of Mordor. I serve only the Lord of the Mark, Theoden King, son of Thengel, answered Eomer. We do not serve the power of the Black Land far away, but neither are we yet at open war with him, and if you are fleeing from him, then you had best leave this land. There is trouble now on all our borders, and we are threatened, but we desire only to be free, and to live as we have lived, keeping our own, and serving no foreign lord, good or evil. We welcomed guests kindly in the better days, but in these times the unbidden stranger finds us swift and hard. Come, who are you? Whom do you serve? At whose command do you hunt orcs in our land? I serve no man, said Aragorn, but the servants of Sauron I pursue into whatever land they may go. There are few among mortal men who know more of orcs, and I do not hunt them in such fashion out of choice. The orcs whom we pursued took captive 2 of my friends. In such need, a man that has no horse will go on foot, and he will not ask for leave to follow the trail, nor will he count the heads of the enemy save with a sword. I am not weaponless. Aragorn threw back his cloak. The elven sheath glittered as he grasped it, and the bright blade of Andúril shone like a sudden flame as he swept it out. Elendil, he cried, I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn, and am called Elisar the Elfstone, Dunedain, the heir of Isildur, Elendil's son of Gondor. Here is the sword that was broken and is forged again. Will you aid me or thwart me? Choose swiftly. Boom. Gimli and Legolas looked at their companion in amazement, for they had not seen him in this mood before. He seemed to have grown in stature while Eomer had shrunk. In his living face they caught a brief vision of the power and majesty of the kings of stone. For a moment it seemed to the eyes of Legolas that a white flame flickered on the brows of Aragorn like a shining crown. Eomer stepped back, and a look of awe was in his face. He cast down his proud eyes. These are indeed strange days, he muttered. Dreams and legends spring to life out of the grass. Tell me, Lord, he said, what brings you here, and what is the meaning of these dark words? Long has Boromir, son of Denethor, been gone, seeking an answer, and the horse that we lent him came back riderless. What doom do you bring out of the north? The doom of choice, said Aragorn. You may say this to Theoden, son of Thengel. Open war lies before him, with Sauron or against him. None may now live now as they have lived, and few shall keep what they call their own. But of these great matters we will speak later, if chance allows. I will come myself to the king. Now I am in great need, and I ask for help, or at least for tidings. You heard that we are pursuing an orc host that carried off our friends. What can you tell us? That you need not pursue them further, said Eomer. The orcs are destroyed. And our friends? We found none but orcs. But that is strange indeed, said Aragorn. Did you search the slain? Were there no bodies other than those of orc kind? They would be small, only children to your eyes, unshod but clad in grey. There were no dwarves nor children, said Eomer. We counted all the slain and despoiled them, and then we piled the carcasses and burned them, as is our custom. The ashes are smoking still. We do not speak of dwarves or children, said Gimli. Our friends were hobbits. Hobbits, said Eomer. And what might they be? It is a strange name. A strange name for a strange folk, said Gimli. But these were very dear to us. It seems that you have heard in Rohan of the words that troubled Minas Tirith. They spoke of the halfling. These hobbits are halflings. Halflings, laughed the rider that stood beside Eomer. Halflings. But they are only little people in old songs and children's tales out of the north. Do we walk in legends or on the green earth in daylight? Alright, we still have a long way to go. We're at 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop this video here. I love you guys.